Hello there, I'm Tommy. Welcome to Blitz Transmissions. This is the Blitzcast, episode 14. I'm receiving a call live on camera from the one and only Hybrid Toy Reviews. Let's answer the call. Hello, Hybrid. Welcome to the live recording of the Blitzcast, episode 14. How are we doing today? I'm going to put you on speaker. This is going to make it into the episode, okay? Okay. Hybrid, tell us about your excitement for our impending trip to GalaxyCon Columbus in the morning.
I'm absolutely titillated. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm super excited about pulling your seatbelt the entire way there and making it walk. It's going to make my world go round. It was actually something I had a question about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's up?
As a connoisseur of paint pens, would you guys like any colors brought?
I have a red one already. And
do you have green?
Red. I have a lime green and then like a forest green. You want me to bring both?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Hybrid, is there anything you'd like to say to the podcast before we go?
Stay skibbity.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Well, and with that impromptu cameo from Hybrid Toy Reviews, this is, again, the Blitzcast episode 14. We are moving along with the Blitzcast. Before we get into the content of this episode, be sure to check out all the links in the description below for all my social media. That's going to be my Instagram page. I have a separate page for my Instagram called Blitz Bounties, not to be confused with the Blitz Bounties live stream series that I do on the channel where I show off hauls, pickups, things like that. Also check out my X page, which I pretty much just post once in a blue moon on, like my review initial thoughts for the Skeleton Crew after I watched it for the first time. And then I also have a Discord. Discord is free to join, and for you old heads out there, it's basically a message board. So you can use it to talk to myself and the tighter-knit community of the Blitz Brigade. It's very, very fun. We have a pretty active community in there, so make sure to check out that as well. This week on the Blitzcast, I'm not joined by Hybrid Toy Reviews. I'm actually joined by, once again, the lovely, everybody's favorite, Miss Jen. How are we doing, Jen?
Doing well. If I cough, just avert your eyes.
Thanks for your prayers, everyone. If you prayed for Jen, she is feeling much better this week, and she's not leaving me in the dust this week. We've also been getting hit by Snowmageddon here in northwest Pennsylvania. We have had over 4 feet of snow over the course of the last 5 days. Snow, ice, blizzards, you name it, we've had it. We live in one of the snowiest cities in the country, including Alaska. So it's been quite a week. Honestly, in my lifetime, it's some of the worst snow dump that we've ever gotten that I can remember. We've had some pretty bad winters, but yeah, so pray for this week. Say a prayer for everyone in our area that they're staying safe and staying warm, and pray for all the dogs in the area that they are also staying safe and staying warm. Our dog, Cody, named after Clone Commander Cody, loves the snow, doesn't he, Jen?
He absolutely loves it.
He can't get enough of that snow. I have to drag him into the house half the time I take him out to use the bathroom, so... But he makes going out in 20 degrees and blowing winds that bring the wind chill down to single-digit degree weather much more enjoyable. Jen, other than that, what's new? What's new in your life?
Not a whole ton since I haven't been at work.
We had Thanksgiving
for a whole week because of the Thanksgiving and the snow. I don't know, just ready for the holidays.
Also, I do want to give a shout out to the commenter on I believe it was the last episode that we were both on, where they said, hey, try and get some chairs that are the same height so that you guys are eye level. That was something I was cognizant of, but wasn't worried about fixing. Now that someone has pointed it out, I have fixed it. So now Jen and I are on the same level. Actually, genuinely, though, thank you to that person for commenting. I do appreciate feedback. I'm always looking for ways to improve the channel. I'm an extremely detail-oriented person, Jen will tell you.
Yeah. He's sitting on a booster seat.
My legs are dangling in the air. I'm kicking. So yeah. Other than that, though, I have a lot of videos out on the channel. I've been doing daily uploads for probably a month now. Probably more than that at this point, huh?
I don't know.
Been doing daily uploads for a minute.
I don't watch it.
You don't. Fake fan. Fake fan. Back to the dungeon she goes. We're going to bust out Logan next week for that. Yeah. Well, Jen, we had a big series premiere this week in Star Wars. The series premiere of Skeleton Crew came out this week. I did share earlier this week on the YouTube channel my first impressions of the show. But before I get into my first impressions, let's talk about Jen's first impressions of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So before we get into what you felt after you watched it, how are you feeling going in?
I am always wary of kids in shows.
Okay. Tell me what you're thinking. Elaborate on that.
Because most of the time, kids are written by adults, and by adults, I mean writers in Hollywood who don't have kids, or if they do have kids, they don't know them, or they are, you know what I mean? Like, they don't
I know exactly what you mean.
They don't know kids, and then you have...
They don't know how to write children.
No.
Yeah.
And then you have kids that are talking in ways that kids don't talk, and then it's just like an annoying kid because they're trying to be like funny. It's like the Disney Channel kind of sound. You know how like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon shows, they're like, wow, like this video is going viral. You know, like I don't want any of that. So I was wary. I didn't like Neil going into it.
What was your quote last week or 2 weeks ago that everyone loved? It was, all Neil thinks is murder.
I didn't.
Go ahead and grab the Neil action figure off the shelf right there.
He fell.
Because now, how are we feeling about our guy, the little blue elephant now, Jen?
I love Neil.
So does everyone else, it seems. Seems like Neil's been a smash hit.
I mean, his eyes are rough.
Like what?
But he's just a little fat kid. That's who he is.
I do think it's funny that Neil is totally the chunk character of this story, but in 2024, we can't be like, yeah, we want a fat kid in the show, so they had to make him an alien. Or else I feel like he would have been a human.
I love him.
I love him too. He's great.
And I love that...
He's got Tim's on. You can't go wrong with that.
I love the way that Neil and Wim, like, they glance at each other at certain points. Like, it's so... That's how kids act. At one point when we were rewatching it today, when Neil's talking about his crush... He looks to the side at one point because he doesn't want to make eye contact. And I was like, that's spot on. Like, a kid, you're asking a kid questions, and then they're like, well, you know, like it was just, moments like that, I knew that the writers understand how this age of kid talks, how they interact with each other, how they try to be cool, or how they, you know, if it's your best friend, then you can not be cool with them, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many of those dynamics that are so accurate. And I worked out of middle school for a bit, so I am aware of how these kids act. So, that was really refreshing.
That's my key word with Skeleton Crew. After watching the first 2 episodes, this is refreshing. It is a palate cleanser for Star Wars fans, especially after all the rigmarole that came with the Acolyte and all the drama on screen, off screen. Season 2 gets canceled, more movies are being canceled, yada yada yada. and we're getting irritated, I think is a good word, as like the general fandom is like, what's going on? Like we're directionless. And then you have Skeleton Crew that comes in and is just this passion project made by a bunch of people that were friends at NYU in college and are writing a Star Wars story that really reflects on just a bunch of kids having an adventure. A lot of it reminded me of playing on the playground as a kid and just having fun with my friends when I was in middle school, riding bikes to go get Mountain Dew Code Red when that came out, to go home and play Call of Duty Zombies with your friends.
That opening shot of Wim playing with his action figures on his bed, I immediately was like, oh, that's just you.
It's me. It was me as a kid. Just everything about this show is so genuine. And I really am taken aback by this show. This show reminds me a lot of how I felt about Andor and the first season of The Mandalorian the first time I watched it, having like no expectations at all going in, and coming out of that first premiere, the first episode or two, and being like, this is something special. I think this show is really something special. Like you were saying, though, attention to detail is probably the biggest thing I really want to point out with this show. Every time I watch it, this is the third time I watched the first episode, and I've seen the second episode twice. Every time I watch it, I notice a little detail, something new, something different, a glance the character makes, like you said, or a little
Neil missing the rock that they were kicking around.
Yeah. That was the one that I noticed today with you. And he misses the rock, but that might have just been that was just, it happened, and they just kept going with the take. Or very much like the Goonies, where it's just a lot of characters yelling over each other, and you'll pick up on what someone says in the background. Like I noticed today on another watch, Wim says "blast it," which is a phrase, an expletive phrase that Star Wars characters have said since the first movie in 1977. One thing that I love about this show so far is how I think that's what's getting me feeling like, yep, this is Star Wars, because there's some very on the nose stuff, like the suburban neighborhood with the grassy front lawns and the houses that look just like futuristic American houses. That would be very jarring, and in the trailers it was. I remember saying I was worried going into the show based on the trailers about that. But there are so many things that keep you in the Star Wars universe and remind you that you're in Star Wars that you're like, oh, I'm no longer even noticing the front lawn or the house because I'm so invested in these characters. And like you said as well, Jen, a big part of that is how well these writers have written these children and how good the directors are at directing the children. That's the other part of it too. Yeah. These kids act like kids.
Yeah, and they're great little actors. That's the other part.
The kids are phenomenal actors. They really deserve a pat on the back for their performance. I'm so in it. It's so I'm trying to think of just general thoughts too, just regarding I like the imaginative play that Wim and Neil have as well, where they're having the fake lightsaber fight. My guts! Oh, hang on, I think there's something in my eye. Just stuff like that reminded me of when I was in kindergarten. We were playing on the playground one day, and we were all being like Jedi and Sith, and we were fighting each other. And some of us were being like clone troopers, and we were like all fighting on the playground. And we all like dogpiled on top of each other at one point. And someone landed on my friend. His name was Orion. And Orion had just gotten staples on the back of his head. And I remember we're like, oh, get the lightsaber, get the, ow, my staples. And everyone like jumps off the dog pile. They're like, oh my gosh. He was fine. But it was that, like when Neil has a moment with the eyelash, I'm like, this is so intelligently written. Yeah. That's just how kids play. Yeah. Yeah, just lots of fun, lots of nostalgia of my childhood, and I sound like such an unk when I say that, but lots of nostalgia to my childhood and how I would play by myself and with friends. Just so much to it.
I was totally a Fern, like
the bad girl who doesn't follow the rules of the school. I love when I recorded my review for that action figure. That's what I described her as based on the trailers, and I'm glad that I hit the nail on the head with that description.
Yeah, I was totally like...
She was not.
I was like, let me just go ride my motorcycle.
I can confirm Jen was not that person when she was a kid.
You didn't know me as a kid.
No, I did not. No. But you weren't like that, though.
No, I play with Barbies.
So I guess let's kind of talk about the characters individually. So I know Neil was a show stealer for most people. He's so silly. He's so genuine. He's the kid that just wants to go home. He likes his normal day-to-day monotonous life. He likes being comfortable.
And he has a crush on one
the
of his...
the ugly ass four-armed monkey alien. I'm working up to it. I mean, Neil is just a great character. He's a great supporting role for a character like Wim, who constantly wants to go out there and get that adventure because Wim's dad is way overbearing.
Loser.
Aren't you a little too old for
bedtime
those?
They're like 10 years old. Too old for bedtime stories.
Lame.
Boo.
So, any other general thoughts before I start like getting into the lore?
It's just a really enjoyable show so far. I am having the same feeling that I felt when I watched with like Bad Batch and like Omega. I was wary of Omega, and she has her like couple moments of being like the annoying little kid, but pleasantly surprised by the writing. Definitely that feeling of like Stranger Things or Goonies or just now I thought of Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, that's a good one. That's another good one.
With women, Neil's dynamic. Just kids being kids and then adding on to that Star Wars adventure. And just, I mean, the story so far is really interesting. And with our second watch, I caught on to a few more hints, I guess, to what's going on.
Yeah. So obviously our podcast is going to get very spoiler heavy from this point on. So if you haven't watched it for some reason and you're this far into the podcast, stop watching and come back after you've watched the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. Obviously, the big thing I want to get into is the mystery of At-Aden, the planet that the kids are from. There's lots of stuff that is very intelligently written in this show about there's a mystery here. Like them talking about, was it a droid or Wim's dad that made mention about nothing can go into the planet's atmosphere or leave the planet's atmosphere.
The droids.
The droids mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this barrier. And it's all these red lights that you see in the sky at night instead of the stars. And it kind of represents this idea that doesn't feel crazy because everybody knows it just as their normal on the planet and nobody's like mentioning it like it's this big dangerous ominous thing. So that's kind of your first hint that there's something interesting, something different going on with this planet. And then of course you get the mention of, characters calling it the Republic, but not mentioning the New Republic. Wim getting credits from his dad for lunch money that have the Old Republic, the prequel era Republic logo on the credits as opposed to the New Republic logo, which is the currency is even a different shape. The logo is a completely different shape and design. So very interesting there. And then of course the pirates on Port Borgo being the big one in episode 2, kind of giving away that there's a mystery here.
Yeah.
And then when the stripper is talking to Fern and KB, and she says that At-Aden is a lost treasure planet. There's something. What do you think it is? Why is At-Aden this isolated place that no one is allowed to go to or know about where it is? The people there aren't allowed to leave. What treasure could possibly be there?
I don't know about the treasure, but I think it's really interesting like, even the career assessment thing, like,
Yeah. keeping
the children growing up in a career so they can keep the planet going. And I kind of wonder what those careers are on the planet, because it's just like a lot of like analysts.
Sounds like it's all like desk jobs.
Yeah. So I don't know how that is contributing to the planet staying afloat.
Another thing that kind of contributes to the dystopian, just to interject here, is when Wim's dad comes out of the woods, the security droids are like, this is a restricted area. Why would the woods be a restricted area?
Yeah.
You know, obviously there was the ship that was crash landed there. We also don't know who this supervisor is. They keep mentioning, Neil mentions, they find the ship and Neil's like, we need to tell the supervisor.
I didn't catch
There's a couple times that the supervisor's name is mentioned. The supervisor, I'm assuming, is like the person who runs the planet. I wonder if that's SM-33's captain. Because if you think about it, the ship crashed, it's buried. Someone is leading the planet right now. So
I didn't catch the supervisor comments. We'll have to...
The supervisor, and it sounds like the supervisor is like the head honcho of Aden.
Okay.
The Fern's mom works for the supervisor's office.
Oh.
She's like not second in command, but she's up there in relation to the supervisor. So, interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it is something as simple as it's a treasure planet, or if it's like this captain has this vast treasure and is like hiding it on the planet and doesn't want other pirates to find it, and has literally created this whole false society around this planet.
Yeah, I wonder. And it's the suburb vibe also kind of gives me like Divergent vibes a little bit.
Like dystopian society.
Yeah. Like when we're talking about this, like the whole, like, you know, you go into your different sanctioned, you know, area. I don't know. It's definitely a mystery, and I'm very intrigued, which I think is a good sign compared to some other shows that we've watched. And
that I'm really interested to see how it plays out, but I like how the show is kind of putting it out there. They're not giving you these huge aside moments to spoon feed you the plot and spoon feed you this lore. They're just kind of, this is putting it out there. These characters know it as something normal, so they're talking about it like it's something normal. Whereas the rest of the galaxy has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Something that I'm really enjoying about this series is the diversity of aliens in this series. So I kind of mentioned on my initial first impressions video that this series, something that it's doing that's keeping me like in it, with like knowing that it's Star Wars and making me not question that it's in Star Wars, is the very present abundance of aliens. You've got almost all the pirates are unique alien species, both new ones that we've seen from the original Star Wars trilogy, and ones from like the sequel trilogy, all mixed together. And it's all different eras of Star Wars aliens, and they all make sense together. They have lots of practical suits, practical effects. Pirate Captain Brutus is a wolfman from the original Star Wars movie. His species was a species that showed up in the cantina. And then you've got the one that gets his eye shot out. He shows up in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. And then there's the one with the machete that cuts down the one guy on the ship, and all this in the opening scene. He's from the sequel trilogy, that species of alien. So you got some great mixture of aliens here, great practical effects. This show is doing it really well. It's something that should always be in Star Wars. I've really thought, specifically with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and the Book of Boba Fett series, that the aliens were like nowhere to be found. And how can you be on Tatooine and it's like almost all humans? Yeah. Especially Obi-Wan Kenobi. There were maybe like one or two aliens on Tatooine at all. And it's all just people. And I'm like, come on. Like, I don't know if it was a budget thing or if it was an intentional decision made by the writers or the costuming department. But either way, I think it was the wrong call because Star Wars is supposed to be full of aliens. And this show is doing a great job of showing you those aliens.
There were some weird ones in that second episode.
There were some weird ones, yeah. Steve Urkel's in the second episode.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. But there's some great aliens in that show. I'm really happy with, again, the faithfulness to Star Wars. Speaking of faithfulness, there's a couple Easter eggs in this show that are pretty deep cut. So in the first episode, when Wim goes over to Neil's house to get him, tell him about the ship, you have the babies are watching this like hologram like circus, and I'm like, that doesn't look very Star Wars. What? Why is that? Why is that in there? Well, come to find out, that holo projected little scene is exactly the same as one that showed up in the 1978 Forbidden Star Wars Holiday Special. The awful, garbage Star Wars Holiday Special. Do you know that George Lucas had every copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special destroyed? And the only way you can find it is if someone has like a secondhand recording they put on YouTube now.
Oh my gosh. Because
he went out, had all physical copies gathered up and destroyed because he was so embarrassed by the holidays. It's pretty awful. It's a hard watch. Princess Leia sings. Luke has a full face of makeup on. It's like so jarring coming off of the 1977 film. There's like Chewbacca, basically they're trying to get to Chewbacca's family for Life Day, which is like the Star Wars Christmas, except Life Day's in November. And Chewbacca's like, I don't know if it's his dad, but the grandpa one has this like peeping Tom scene. It's like really strange. He's like talking to like a prostitute.
Oh, okay.
There's like the whole thing's an acid trip. There's like American bands that were playing like songs. Anyways, so that little circus scene is from that special. And then there's that weird, almost like Cheshire Cat looking pink alien in the second episode. And that was another one. I was like, that's an interesting choice. Well, reading into it a little bit deeper, this character actually showed up with Michael Jackson in the 1980s. And I'm pulling it up right now. Captain EO. It's from, I'm trying to find the year here. Captain EO is like Michael Jackson's like little space thing he tried to do with Disney. And it came out, it was like a Star Wars like knockoff, basically like same vein type thing. And he had this little alien, this little pink alien cat thing. And I forget its name, but that's the thing that's in Skeleton Crew. And that's why they gave it like its own little couple shots where they really... And again, this just goes to show that was totally done by the writers. It was totally intentional. Just again, lots of references to the 80s in this show. I think that's also why I'm enjoying it, because you can tell that there's passion in it. You can tell that they're trying to get some references in there, but they're subtle enough that they're not like completely taking away my focus from the show. Like I'd probably be cringing if it was stuff like we've seen in previous projects, like almost like fan filmy stuff where they're like, if they were to go like, I have the high ground. Yeah. I'd be like, ooh, that's not, no.
Well, and then I did point it out, the girls looking for a power converter for their motorcycle. Yeah.
But I was going to go to Kanchi Station to pick up some power converters.
It's subtle, but if you know, you know.
Yeah. We keep coming back to attention to detail. There's so much to unpack with this show because every time you watch it, you'll find something new. And it's very rewatchable. I was looking forward. I watched the first episode a second time before I saw it a third time with you. And there's just so much to look forward to when you're watching it, so much to enjoy. And I'm all in. I'm all in with Skeleton Crew. I'm glad that I was cautiously optimistic going in. It feels good to be excited about something. Even this show, I will say, for a lot of people that are either burned out on Star Wars or outright hate most new Star Wars, have been saying that it was either good or it was great for people. The Skeleton Crew opening 2 episodes. Let's kind of get into Jadna Nobwood a little bit, because we get him right at the end of the second episode. Jude Law's character. How are we feeling?
I think he's a con artist. Like, I don't know how. I don't know what the deal is.
He's definitely the pirate captain at the beginning of the first episode.
Yeah. I don't trust that he's that he has the Force, or I don't know. I guess I could be proven wrong next episode, but
I don't think it's the Force either.
But he just gives scammy vibes, and especially if he's the pirate at the beginning, you know, he gives me con artist vibes. So I don't know what his gimmick actually is, though.
Now, if he is actually Force sensitive, I've heard people asking, you know, well, why was he staying in the cell? Why did he not just escape earlier if he could always do that? And I'm thinking, well, he probably knew he needed to get a ride. So now he's got his opportunity to get a ride. You know, he's helping these kids out, so it's kind of like an eye for an eye. That he does them a favor, they'll do him. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, type thing, you know? Yeah, but I think there's a little more to him than just as simple as, and he's a Jedi. I think Wim wants to believe he's a Jedi, because that's what Wim wants to be when he gets older.
All of Wim's love for Jedi, it's really interesting, especially if our prediction is correct that, you know, this is under Republic rule, not New Republic rule, so maybe they don't even know about
the Jedi being gone.
About the Empire, about anything that happened outside of that planet. I wonder if all of his stories that he's reading are purely, you know, Golden Age. I think
it's like High Republic, Old Republic.
Which is, that will be interesting too if they touch on that a little bit, since this is, you know, with all the Jedi being gone.
I think honestly that'll come from Jod, because I think that he'll be kind of just mentioning things like the New Republic, the Empire, and I would love to see these kids like, huh? Yeah. The what? What Empire?
I don't see how they could know.
No. There's no way I don't think anybody on Adden knows. I think everybody's oblivious. I think everybody thinks that the Republic, except for maybe the few at the top, I think everybody thinks the Republic is still in a time of, because that's the other thing, is the supervisor's assistant, Fern's mom, when she goes to the classroom, she talks about how they're in a time of peace. The Republic is at a time of peace. So it's been like 30 to 50 years at least since this place has been under this like barrier. You know, it could even be like hundreds of years. Yeah. You know, because obviously it seems like most of these people are just, and it would make sense too that all the educators are droids, all the security are droids. You know, kind of pigeonholing people into this narrative that the Republic is all good and well. You know,
but also they don't believe, or they don't have Jedi. They don't really talk about Jedi.
Right.
So that's the other side of it, is they don't have Jedi. They're not included in, you know, the Jedi jurisdiction, I guess. Right. If they believe that they are still around. So that's the other side of it. So what is their story? What is their timeline of events? Do they believe that the Jedi are still gone and they're just myth? Or do they believe they're somewhere else?
I think they just think that they're somewhere else because of how intertwined the Jedi are with the Republic. I think they just think that they just don't need to come to Adden, you know? And it also would make sense, too, that seems like they only learn about numbers. The kids are all focused on numbers instead of, like, the outside world. They're focused on their little bubble. Yeah.
Small town syndrome.
I know some of you guys have that. That's okay. It's not your fault. Anything else that you want to really poke at with Skeleton Crew?
I want to see. I want to hear about KB a little bit. Like, what is she, a cyborg?
No,
What's her
vibe? She might have like a cybernetic enhancement. We see that a lot in Star Wars. But I like that hers like kind of plays like glasses a little bit. Like she's like pulling them up, putting them down. I like that it's got like gadgets in the side. Like she pulled out a cord to unlock the door to the ship at one point. Lots of cool stuff. I do like that she's a good counterpart to Fern a little bit. Like Fern is she's a lot. She's a lot to handle. I think KB is a really good counterpart to her to kind of like be the voice of reason, be a little bit more compassionate than Fern is. Because Fern has no compassion at all. No. Yes, she does. Well, it's down there.
She does. She's so focused on proving herself. Which
is funny because her mom thinks she's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But her mom wants her to be perfect and the best.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the difference. Like, I don't know what that badge was, but it sounds like
top of the class badge.
Yeah, top of the class.
So she went and got it for her.
But does that mean that she
lost it?
Fern, well, does that mean that Fern had poor grades and that's why she lost it, or was she acting out and lost it and then sweep it under the rug?
Well, she doesn't go to school half the time.
Yeah.
She's like racing bikes and trying to do exciting stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Another little Easter egg, just side note, is the ferry alien that brings them from their ship to Port Borgo. The species of alien... What's that?
The wee ferryman.
The wee ferryman. That alien species was originally from Ewoks. I think it was Battle of Endor. It was a movie that came out in the 80s. God-awful movie. I loved it as a kid, but watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is rough. But it was a great movie to watch as a kid. And there's a character called Teak. Teak is it's super. They're these super fast little rat guys, and you see this little ferryman, the wee ferryman, is the same way. He's super fast. He talks really fast. I love it. I love that they included again something from the 80s. That's Star Wars still. Like you had the holiday special, late 70s. You have the Ewok Adventure movies are the 80s. That's a lot of fun that they went that deep cut with that.
Why do you think they went that route? Like not just because of the cameos, but do you think there's a deeper meaning for all of their...
I think for the writers it represents their childhood. And they're familiar with things like that. Remember that weird, obscure thing from when we were kids? Let's put that in. And I think that this is great fan service for diehard Star Wars fans like myself. Because people like me and people that I like bounce ideas off with, other Star Wars fans, we see that stuff. We pick it out. And it brings you a lot more like... excitement to the writing team. You can tell the writing team knows Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, like again, or the mention of when SM-33 is a great character, by the way. I love him. I didn't think I'd care for him going into it, but he's great. He's mentioning a bunch of planets that start with A, like at Aden. He mentions Aldhani, which is the big heist that occurs in Andor is on Aldhani. Great reference there, and it is little things like that are fan service. I think it's done as fan service at the end of the day because none of it's consequential to the story. But it's a great way to let Star Wars fans know, hey, we know Star Wars. You know.
I guess I wonder if another reasoning is in the idea of them being in a bubble and kind of time being stuck,
frozen.
At Aden. I wonder if that's also kind of just an analyst layer of like these are things that are stuck in time in the from the 80s.
Yeah.
You know that you might not even know about. Kind of like this mysterious myth planet.
Yeah.
These things that are stuck in time and
interesting.
I think you're right too, but
No, I like that point because I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's like a deeper meaning, especially since they're all from the same timeline, like or same time period.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like there's a reasoning, and all the promos were kind of like 80s movie type of vibe.
Yeah.
So that gives me the energy that like these kids, this is like almost Back to the Future type of thing.
Oh yeah.
You're experiencing kids that think they're in the correct time, but they're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where do you think that we go from here with the story going into our third episode's coming out on Tuesday? Do you have any predictions as to where we're going to go? Obviously, they're going to escape Port Borgo. Where do you think they'll go?
I think Jude Law is going to give them a bunch of hoopla, and they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh!" Yeah, wow.
Well, once they tell him they're from Aden, he's going to be like, "This is my opportunity to win my crew back."
Yeah.
By getting all these riches.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of him, like, storytelling,
Predicting the whole series. Ready?
Oh, God.
He tricks them into thinking that, he is a Jedi, finds out about Aden, gets the kids to bring him to Aden, contacts his pirate crew. He found the lost treasure planet. The pirates come to Aden, plunder the planet, destroy a lot of everything. The kids lose their trust, especially Wim, who will look up to Jod, and Jod will have to have that change of heart moment and realize that there's more to life than cold, hard credits, which is his line in the first episode. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
So, I think also with the plundering that's going to...
The plundering.
I think...
The plunderage.
The kids are going to be like, no, we trusted you, blah, blah. And the supervisor or whatever will reprimand them. But then they're going to find out the truth about the planet. And they're going to be like, wait. And it's that, finding out the corruption that's in that planet at the same time. And then Jude Law is going to be like, wait, I have to help these kids. And then that's going to
And then the pirates become good guys.
And then they all kiss.
And then Neil gets to kiss his crush.
I hope that happens at the end.
Another, totally kid moment. It's funny because, in, The Last Jedi, you get a Yo Mama joke right at the beginning. And, there's, slapstick comedy in The Acolyte. And it doesn't land. Mm-hmm. But there's something about this show that tonally, it's just so consistent all the way through. That's, I think, why with these other projects, it's not consistent with the tone of what you're watching. Whereas with this, it's it lands when KB's you have to say your crush in that deep voice. Yeah. And Wim's like, what? Neil's like, Runa! And I'm like, that wouldn't land for me in any other Star Wars product. And for this one, I didn't question it at all. I wasn't in the back. There was nothing in the back of my head going, ooh, yeah, people are not going to like that one. It was
it was silly.
I'm just enjoying it.
And that's what kids do.
Mm-hmm. That is what it is, because that's what kids do. The Claimsies was also really good.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It checks out.
Yeah. Everyone on the planet knows that. Can't call Claimsy without the claimer.
I did love Fern's moment of what else is there to do in this stupid planet?
Yeah.
It's just so on stereotypical.
What's up, wastoids? Again, this is another one that I was like, dude, we're in Star Wars. When a couple times Wim calls something wizard. Do you know the story behind wizard? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was actually a deleted scene from The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Where Anakin's friend Kitster says, that's wizard. And there was a voice line in Star Wars Battlefront 2, the game I play all the time, from 2017, that didn't make it into the game, but it's called data mining, where people will go into the game files and find stuff that's not actively being used in the game, but is there for like a future update. Anakin had a voice line where he just says "wizard," and it's shown up a couple times in Star Wars. But I think when Peli Motto in the Book of Boba Fett, when they get Mando's N1 starfighter put together, and he lands, and Peli asks him about the ship, Mando says "wizard." So it's just like this expletive term for like awesome, and it was in moments where I think it's Wim both times, says wizard. I'm like, we're in Star Wars. We're here. And that's fan service too. Deep cut, diehard Star Wars fans are going to get it. And it's something that goes, if you're just watching casually, goes right over your head and it means nothing. It's not consequential to anything.
I also love that the ship that they are in, I love the Disney pirate references in it.
Yes.
I mean, SM-33 is Smee from Peter Pan. But then also when Wim and Neil are in the pirate quarters, it looks like a pirate ship.
Yeah.
Like the windows, it looks like the ships in Peter Pan again, or in Hook. And they're putting on like classic pirate hats that are not in most pirate Star Wars characters. So I thought that was interesting too, of like, these are like old-timey pirates that were in this ship. Classic pirates. That's how I...
Did you see the SM-33 has a peg leg?
Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's going to lead into it of like, these are pirates from a different age or what the deal is, but I also think it might have just been fun.
Fan service.
Yeah, they are owned by Disney, so
they are owned by Disney.
Have a little kitty Disney mention there.
So we predicted the whole series. You can thank us later. We predicted next episode. Overall, Jen, what is your rating for the first episode of Skeleton Crew and then the second episode of Skeleton Crew? If you had to give them a rating, both together. Give them a rating.
Together?
One each and then both together.
Okay, one each. First one, I would say 9 out of 10.
We're rating on enjoyment.
Yeah. Second episode, I would say like 8 out of 10. Just because I like the kids interacting in the first episode more. Overall, 8.5.
I think I'm right there with you. 9 out of 10 on the first one, 8 out of 10 on the second one, 8.5 average for the two. And Skeleton Crew has a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I'm going to pull up the audience rating as well. Let me check on that real quick.
It's just fun. I mean, it's like that first season of Stranger Things. People were hooked. I was hooked. I watched Stranger Things 3 or 4 times that first year. And I think that's the energy that it's bringing, but then you also have the Star Wars part of it.
So Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have given it a 95%. It is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience is giving it an 82%. For Star Wars nowadays, that is insanely high.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, we usually get some pretty low.
And
scores.
this is the first 2 episodes, so I feel like if they keep this energy going and the plot, ties up in a little bow at the end, I think that rating is going to just go up.
I think it's only going to go up as well. I think people will go back and
this is just going to be one season, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any plans to do this as a second season or any any subsequent
It
releases.
Feels like a limited series.
I will say too, this feels way more cinematic as well. This series feels like just the way things are shot. The budget feels like it was used properly. Everything about this just feels so good, so polished as well. And I know the show did get delayed a year. It was supposed to come out a year ago.
Oh, okay.
But there was the actor strikes and the SAG strikes, so they delayed it. And honestly, if that had anything to do with why it ended up so polished, Fine by me, man.
Yeah.
That was great. This show, I'm so excited for Tuesday. I can't wait to watch the next one. That's all I got, Jen. You got anything else?
No.
All right. Jen, take us out.
Thank you so much for listening. Please leave a comment down below if you have available comments with the device that the app that you're listening on. Please let us know what your thoughts are on Skeleton Crew. Let us know if you liked it, if you hated it, if you think Neil is still the major villain, the big bad in this show. Please let me know. I want to sympathize with you. And we'll see you on the next review that my lovely fiance will put out probably tonight after I go to bed.
And with that, guys, thanks again for watching the Blitzcast, and may the Force be with you.
Bye.
Bye.